guys, I'm Alex.
I'm Jason, we're the Table Monkeys, and this is Table Talks episode 21. So this episode we're going to be talking about the King's move and to win or to lose. That is the question.
And the answer is to win, obviously.
Obviously, it's always just to win. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't matter how you win. It should just matter if you win.
Yeah.
And I guess you can add to that maybe the other element, because I think this is the big controversy with the move, is what is cheating? Where does the line begin and end, you know?
Yep.
So those are the things that we're going to talk about. You're going to notice in this practice here, Eddie, new puller, I think this is only 5th or 6th practice in total, and he's already got a bit of a King's move going.
Yeah.
He just naturally goes to the King's move. Why is it? We don't really know. You as well, I mean, I King's move a lot. We pull with King's movers a lot, so maybe that's where we established our King's move. But here you are.
Wrestling Club. We just love to get on the table.
Yeah, T-Dot. We're obnoxious in Toronto. We like to King's move, I guess. And then same thing here, you know. And it can be done in a bunch of different ways. Like right now, I'm staying above the table, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
And then once I drop, I add a little bit different pressure and rotation.
But now everyone's freaking out because
apparently I'm too low for some reason on the table, you know. And we're gonna do another video because we kind of think like, the whole point is what is it about the King's move that people don't like?
Exactly.
Why do people get so angry about it? Engin Terzi.
What are all these lines on your forehead for it?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's. Again, okay, let's get back to the cheating thing.
Yeah. Okay.
What constitutes as cheating?
Cheating is disobeying the rules.
The rules, exactly.
Of the sport, right?
So, would you say it's not just disobey, because you can disobey the rules and then the ref will call you, like you can push the limits and get a foul,
right? And
that doesn't mean you're cheating, but it just means that you're pushing the limits, right? So I think that's where the line is a little bit, is that people think that it's some sort of a cheating thing that you're doing, but it is a trick, like anything. Like the way Travis hits and does his whole offensive setup, if you watch any of his seminars, it's all a trick.
Yeah,
it's the same way.
He's trying to get away with as much as possible. Everyone's trying to get away with as much as possible.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing with Devin and loading the strap and like all the tricks that he has. Same thing with like John Brzezinski. His trick would be that he can feel where you're going to go. Like that's his little tricky advantage. So he knows what to do to fight you, right? Mm-hmm. And does that mean that's cheating? No, that's his cheat is that he can feel what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Devin's cheat is that he knows how to use the strap, or he knows how to get in your head. You know, Travis's cheat is that he knows how to get the setup that he wants, so that he can pull exactly how he wants every time.
So it might be when people start having bone locks that prevent opponents from pushing through that people get angry. Like,
right.
If my elbow can't extend and I'm able to King's move and hang out in that position, and it seems like I'm not really trying too much, that's when people
start thinking
angry.
It's cheating. But again, as long as you're within the rules, if the ref isn't calling you for a foul, how is that cheating? You're not really cheating, right? And on top of that, as we know, I think that you made the point, and I think it's true, I think it comes with a lot of people just misunderstanding the move.
Yeah.
It does not just rely on a bone or joint lock. That you have to hold your hand.
Yeah.
If you lose your hand on a King's move completely, like I know you give up your flexion, but if you lose your riser or your pronation too much in the King's move, it doesn't matter if your arm.
Right, that's the point. The point of the King's move is you've given up everything except to hold those two things, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And some drag.
And exactly. And then the drag you're just maintaining. That's the kind of constant pressure. And that's the other part. One of the first things I learned about the King's move when we went and trained with Crazy George was the idea that you're not waiting. Mm-hmm. He's like, everybody thinks I'm just sitting there waiting. It's constant pressure. It's not necessarily dynamic. Right? Like we were talking about that.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily like exploding on your opponent, but it's a constant pressure in a certain direction that just is very aggravating to pull against, especially if you want to just pull harder. If you're the same thing, only harder kind of puller, you are very susceptible to a King's move. And as a well-rounded arm wrestler, if you go into a match with somebody and you know that that's what they do, I mean, what would you do?
Yeah, I wouldn't just blindly balls to the wall, hit to the side,
and play to their strength.
Yeah,
you would. If you're a fully well-rounded arm wrestler, you're probably going to King's move. That's the best option against somebody that wants to go straight to the side.
Yeah.
Your real best option is a King's move.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know how to fight against the King's move too, so they get frustrated,
stuck, and then they try to just keep blasting through.
A cheat that they should be able to beat because they're the stronger human.
Yeah, and especially because majority of the time when people are holding a King's move, because the pressure is constant, it does seem effortless. Like you do, if you think about any time you do a long static set, you don't look like you're grinding for most of the set. It's not till the very, very end when you're burning up like crazy that you start to get like a grimace on your face. So that's the same thing that happens on the table. If I'm holding a King's move, I don't look like I'm trying hard. As soon as I start to like force and really try to dynamically get the match over to my side of the table, then maybe it looks like I'm trying. But it's that holding in a comfortable position or seemingly comfortable position that frustrates people, and then again they think it's cheating, right?
But if I can hold you inside in a hook comfortably without really stressing too much, then that's the most coolest thing ever, the most heroic thing ever, right?
And on that one, when you hold, which is, we're going to do another video about the difference about how these moves kind of work together. Like, we kind of have an idea that if the King's move is just about a joint lock and giving up your flexion in your hand as much as possible, then there's kind of an inside version of it too, which we're going to do another video about discussing and just presenting the question, seeing what people think.
If anyone's seen the match with Devin and Taurus.
Devin and Taurus, and Brzezinski does it to Taurus, Brzezinski does it to Travis, Frodo Hoagland does it all the time. Yeah. And it's just, again, it's an inside move in which they're totally relying only on their elbow integrity, and they've pretty much given up their hand, except for one vector. They're just trying to hold some supination, or even really, aside from the hand, it's just the bone-to-bone contact that they're looking for. But that is like viewed as such a glorious way to arm wrestle, where the other style, again, is like, so the other part that we were talking about, because the other part of this video is to win or to lose, which is how we started.
Right.
And that brings us back to, like, again, I think this is all, hopefully, like, more spews for more views. This all has a lot to do with the whole Engin Terzi and Devin Larratt kind of, controversy that's going on right now. And we're trying to find out why everybody gets so angry about the King's move, because Engin likes to call it the desperation move. Exactly.
And you made the point how, like, in any sport, any desperation move is a sign of bravery, where you're willing to put it all on the line to win.
Exactly.
You don't care if you break your arm.
Yeah, or you don't care if you, like, laying yourself out for a pass in football, like you're going through the middle of the field and you just jump up for the ball regardless of who's going to hit you or what's going to happen, or any kind of, exactly what you said, you're just willing to put it all out on the line. It's just complete desperation, and that is always looked at as heroic.
Yeah.
And the inside move that we're talking about is kind of a desperation move too. I mean, I don't want to, like, talk too much about the video, but it's not like everybody watches everything, so we can kind of double up a little bit. But when Brzezinski or when Devin dive forward on Taurus to get in that side pressure lock, it's because they can't maintain anything else. They can't fight him high. They can't turn him into a hook on the inside. So their desperation is to go in as far as they can, put out as much of their arm as they can, and sacrifice their elbow, and complete desperation.
Yeah.
And if Devin's match, he loses the match overall because Taurus gets through it 3 times before he starts to slow him down and he's able to turn it around.
Yeah.
Right? So it's how is that not a pure desperation move the same way? But for some reason, that's looked as like, that's arm wrestling, that's glory. But when you go desperation to the outside, the other example we were using, the boxing example, right? Or like the Michael Jordan example. Use all those examples, like, go through them, like
that defensive versus offensive style, which is more heroic.
Yeah. And in other sports, it's not. I don't think it's looked at as controversial. Like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, completely different styles of boxing. I mean, maybe if you talk about Ali in the very beginning of his career, he was a little bit more offensive, but for the most part, a completely defensive arm wrestler or boxer who's always on the outside, getting away from you, making you chase him, all the same kind of terminology that we use for outside arm wrestling is how he's boxing. And then Mike Tyson, just always coming forward, full head of steam, test your frame, it's all that same mentality. But
they both win.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And they both dominated in their time, and you want to see that match. You know, you like everybody is in the history of boxing. That's the most, desired match to ever see would be Ali in his prime versus Tyson in his prime.
Yeah.
But why in arm wrestling is going outside? It's looked as running. It's looked at like
It must be because when arm wrestling started, it was very much inside hooking style, right? It was wrist wrestling.
right. Yeah,
And then
and it's evolved in a lot of different ways.
it evolved, but then top rolling was seen as kind of unmanly, like running away people first started top rolling, right?
Yeah.
And then now the King's move is an evolution of the top roll where you're running even more.
Yeah.
So it's seen as even more cowardly than the top roll was back then.
Yeah, but again, it's like what's cowardly about it other than the fact that you're trying to win, Just because if the sport is just about who can push to the side the strongest, then why don't we just do it against weight?
Yeah.
And do it on a strict lift and just see who can lift the most. That's not what it is.
That's the beauty of arm wrestling, is that the weaker man can beat the stronger man by being smarter. That's what
Exactly.
everybody seems to love about arm wrestling.
Well, remember, so what about I made this analogy of like rats trying to get through a maze. Like you've got two rats in a maze, and you've got one rat who figures his way through the maze by making left and right turns, and then you've got another rat that just pounds his head through the wall trying to get to the finish line. Well, the rat that pounds his head to the wall is going to die of brain damage before he gets to the finish line.
Yeah.
I want to be like the rat that makes the left and right turns and uses his brain.
Yeah, because then you can keep going through mazes the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if your only option is just pounding your head through the wall,
Same thing, only harder.
Yeah, and again, like we mentioned earlier, it's usually the guys that just want to go straight to the side hard or want to just finish with their one move who gets stuck and caught up in the King's move, like the way Dave gets caught up against Michael. Like Dave is comparably a much, like they on paper look like they should be a really, really, really tough match.
Yeah.
And Todd expressed how scared he was of Dave in that match, but without question, it didn't look that way at all.
It was
Like it was completely one-sided.
Yeah.
Because the styles make matchups. Dave's style, he doesn't adjust. He doesn't try to figure his way around that wall.
No.
He just keeps trying to pound through it. And that's, again, Engin Terzi. If you watch him, whenever he gets, even if it's not a King's move, there was one match we were talking about, and he wasn't stuck against a King's move. It was a different lock, but his opponent had a good lock on him, and his only answer was just keep doing the same thing, only harder.
Yeah, that's not heroic. Like, how many times did Travis lose to Jerry Carteret because Jerry's style was just the perfect style to beat Travis?
Right.
Over and over again, Jerry beats Travis, and Travis never adjusts.
Yeah, because Travis knows that's his game, and if he doesn't get exactly what he needs against him, he's not going to win, and his style isn't to figure out how to adjust. And he's not looked at, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't consider Travis to be, he wouldn't consider himself to be a heroic arm wrestler, you know what I mean? Like he's heroic in the sense that he'll take on a guy way stronger than him and do well and beat them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But the desperation of trying to find any way you can to win, to me, that's what glory is.
Yeah.
That's where the pride and
Seems pretty heroic to me.
and the heroic action is just being willing to put it all on the line,
And you don't care if your arm breaks.
No, and that's the thing, is that I think people think like when you go on the inside and you hold tight on the inside, it's like you're at risk of your arm breaking. You're just as much risk of getting an injury when you're fully extended, hanging out, and
Which is why a lot of federations and refs don't even let you get there because they're afraid of your...
Yeah, usually it's a safety thing, but they won't prevent... I mean, I guess they do prevent an arm break position on the inside as well if you start to look away from your arm and everything.
Yeah.
So it is, I can understand...
But at the pro level, forget all that.
No, that's it. Yeah, exactly. And as soon as you start worrying about how you're going to win as opposed to just winning, you've basically, in my mind, you've kind of already lost, Like...
Moral of the story is you do everything you can to win, and that's how you'll find glory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it comes down to like purpose and stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
If the purpose is to win, then you do whatever you can to fulfill that purpose, right?
All right, guys, so that's a good place to end the video, but we want to know, what do you think about the King's move? Do you think it's cheating? Do you think it's more heroic to win on the inside versus the outside?
Do you think it matters how you win? Is it just about winning, or does the way you win actually matter? Is one way, like Alex said, more glorious than the other? And leave us some feedback in the comments. Subscribe for new videos.
Like the video.
Yeah, definitely like the video. Hit that button, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace out.